If you woke up this morning and something inside you just feels off, this message is for you. Maybe you can't explain it. Maybe life looks fine from the outside. You've got a job, people who care about you, a roof over your head. But something is missing, something deep. And no matter what you do, you can't shake that heavy feeling that you're wandering, that you're stuck, that you're somehow falling behind on a path you can't even see anymore. I want you to hear this, and hear it clearly. You are not broken. You are not forgotten. And you are most definitely not alone. What you're feeling right now, that unsettling, restless, almost suffocating sense of lostness, it has a name, and it has a purpose. There's a verse in the Bible, James 1, verses 2 through 4, and the first time most people read it, they almost laugh. Because it says to consider it pure joy when you face trials. Joy in the middle of a trial? That sounds backwards. It sounds like something someone says who has never really suffered. But stay with me here, because when you look deeper at what James is actually saying, it changes everything. He's not saying pretend it doesn't hurt. He's not saying paste a smile on your face and ignore the pain. He's saying, there is something being built in you right now that could not be built any other way. He says the testing of your faith produces perseverance. And perseverance, when it finishes its work, makes you complete, whole, not lacking anything. Think about that word, complete. Because so many of us are walking around feeling incomplete, aren't we? Like there's a version of ourselves we were supposed to be, and somewhere along the way, we missed the turn. Let me ask you something. How long have you been carrying this weight? Maybe it started with a relationship that ended in a way you never expected. Someone you loved, someone you built your entire future around, walked out. And when they left, they took more than just themselves. They took your sense of direction, your sense of worth. And now you find yourself questioning everything. Who you are, what you deserve, whether love like that is even possible for someone like you. Or maybe it's your career. You did everything right. You went to school, you worked hard, you showed up every single day. And yet somehow, you're still not where you thought you'd be. You watch people around you get promoted, get opportunities, get recognition, and you're standing there wondering what's wrong with you. Why is it so easy for everyone else and so hard for me? Or maybe it's quieter than that. Maybe it's just this constant low-level anxiety that never fully goes away. The overthinking that keeps you up at 2 a.m. The feeling that you're one mistake away from everything falling apart. The exhausting performance of holding it all together while inside, you're running on empty. Sound familiar? Here's what nobody tells you about seasons like this. Nobody tells you that lostness is not the absence of God's plan. Sometimes, lostness is the plan. Think about some of the most powerful stories ever told. The ones that actually moved you. The ones that stayed with you long after they ended. What do they all have in common? The main character always goes through the desert before they reach the promised land. Joseph in the Bible was thrown into a pit by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, thrown in prison. Years passed, and the whole time, it must have looked like God had completely abandoned him. But every single thing that happened to Joseph, every painful, humiliating, confusing chapter, was quietly positioning him for something he could not yet imagine. Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness before he was ready to lead a nation. David was anointed king as a teenager, and then waited years, hunted and hiding, before he ever sat on the throne. Even Jesus, before he began his ministry, was led into the wilderness for 40 days. The wilderness isn't punishment. The wilderness is preparation. And here's the part that hits differently when you really sit with it. God doesn't test you to break you. He tests you to reveal you, to show you what's inside you. To strip away everything you've been leaning on that isn't real, the approval, the status, the false security, so that what's left is something unshakable. We live in a culture that has absolutely no patience for the process. We want results now. We want to feel better today. We scroll through highlight reels on social media, and we compare our behind the scenes to everyone else's final cut. We see a 30-second clip of someone's success, and we miss the 10 years of invisible work that made it possible. And so when our lives don't look like that, when things are slow, when prayers feel unanswered, when we're doing everything we know to do and nothing seems to be moving, we interpret that silence as rejection. We think God has given up on us. Or worse, we start to wonder if He was ever real to begin with. But what if the silence isn't rejection? What if the silence is trust? When a surgeon operates, the room gets very quiet. There's no chaos, no commotion, just steady, precise, intentional work happening beneath the surface. You can't always see what's being healed. You can't always feel it. But something is changing that will only be visible when it's done. God is not absent in your quiet seasons. He is operating. Now I want to be real with you for a second, because this message isn't meant to be a feel-good distraction from real pain. Some of you are dealing with things that are genuinely, deeply hard. Maybe you've lost someone, a parent, a child, a friend who was gone too soon. And no amount of spiritual perspective makes that grief disappear. Maybe you're in the middle of financial collapse, and the anxiety is so real you can barely breathe. Maybe your health is failing and you're terrified. Maybe your family is falling apart in ways you never could have predicted. I'm not going to tell you that those things don't hurt. They do, and it's okay to say that. Faith doesn't mean pretending everything is fine. Faith means choosing to believe, even when everything inside you wants to give up, that the story isn't over. James doesn't say the trial won't be hard. He says let perseverance finish its work. Let it complete something. Don't run from the process before it's done. Because here's what I've seen, and what I think deep down you already know. The people who come out the other side of something devastating, the ones who make it through, they're not the same people who went in. Something happened in the fire. Something was refined. Something was clarified. A version of them emerged that never could have existed without the pressure. There's a question worth sitting with today, and I want you to actually take a moment with it rather than rushing past it. What is this season trying to teach me that nothing else could? Not what is it doing to me? What is it trying to teach me? Because there's a difference between going through something and growing through something. And that difference is a choice. It's the choice to stay curious even when you're in pain. To stay open even when you want to shut down. To keep asking, what is this building in me? Instead of what is this taking from me? Maybe this season is teaching you that your worth was never tied to your productivity. That you don't have to earn your place in this world. That rest isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Maybe it's teaching you who your real people are. Pressure has a way of doing that. It reveals who shows up and who disappears. And as painful as that is, there's a gift in the clarity. Maybe it's teaching you to let go of a version of your life that was never really yours to begin with. A version built on someone else's expectations. Someone else's definition of success. Someone else's idea of who you should be. And maybe, just maybe, the lostness you're feeling right now is not a sign that you've fallen off your path. Maybe it's the very first moment you've ever been truly on it. Here's what I want you to walk away with today. Stop treating this season like a problem to be solved, and start treating it like a passage to be walked through. Because you cannot think your way out of a spiritual process. You cannot hustle your way past it. You cannot numb it away or scroll past it or distract yourself out of it. The only way through is through. And as you walk through it, bring your questions, bring your doubts, Bring your anger and your grief and your exhaustion. All of it is welcome. A faith that can't survive your honest questions was never strong enough to carry your actual life. But also bring this, the quiet, stubborn, unshakable belief that you are not in this alone. That the one who created you has not lost track of you. That every detour, every delay, every door that closed, it was not a mistake. It was navigation. It was redirection. It was love, operating on a timeline you can't fully see yet. James says, let perseverance finish its work so that you may be complete, not lacking anything. You are being made complete. Right now, in this very season you want to escape. And one day, not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day, you will look back at this exact moment. This hard, confusing, painful, disorienting moment. And you will see, with a clarity that takes your breath away, exactly why it had to happen the way it did. You will see the purpose in the pressure, the meaning in the mess, the grace in the gap between where you were and where you needed to be. So don't give up. Not today. Not when you're this close to something you can't see yet. The test is not the end of your story. It is the making of it.